Hello boys and girls, welcome back today with mission 26 of A Mission a Day. Yesterday we went to Joule, tried to land on Vol, that did not quite work out, but we did get a lot of science. And all these missions have depleted our cash reserves a little bit again. We have 116,000, and if you look at the missions that Jay Cheetah made for me, we can now either go to Joule, land on Vol with a manned mission that also has to aero brake on Joule lower than 130 kilometers. This doesn't quite jive with the interplanetary exploration vehicle. I'm not going to put the whole station on an aerobraking trajectory. That would be suicide, I think. So this would have to be either something that detaches from that expedition vehicle or a preliminary mission before that. Anyway, we're not going to do this today. Another option is to put a rover on Duna. We are probably going to do this tomorrow or one of the coming days because I've designed a rover. I'm quite confident in its abilities and we are going to be able to do this. So this one will be coming up shortly. What we are going to do today is not one of these missions, but we are going to work on making our launches a little bit more affordable, because every time the launch is very expensive and that hurts our wallets. The mission controller plugin has a research screen. I had never seen this before. It was off the screen because I had first launched it in 180p and now I'm recording in 720p, meaning that was off the screen. We want vessel recycling. That means we can put parachutes on expensive rocket stages and get money back from them. We need 300 science points for that. We have 295. So in order to do that, we are going to switch to one of our research exploratory vehicles and ask for a science update. I think we could probably get 5 science from this Polar Explorer over Kerbin. Let's have a look at that, and if that doesn't work we can switch to our Juna satellite or even the marooned Joule lander that was meant to land on Vol but is now in orbit around Joule. This is the... what's this then? Ah, there's Kerbin. Right, so we are going to ask this for a gravioli reading. 6 points that we can transmit at low efficiency, so that's not actually going to be quite enough. So as soon as this transmission finishes... No, I'm not going to hunt for another biome. That would take too long and be boring, so I am going to... We got 1.3 science for this. Instead I'm going to go for the Juna satellite. Let's see. Kerbin, Moon, Minmus, Duna. Here we go. It says scanned quite a bit of the planet for Kethane. As it looks now, Kethane is not very plentiful, but it can be found in various places. What we're going to do today, after we do our science, well, let's first time warp to get out of the dark side and recharge our batteries. After we get our 5 science here, I think we have to turn the craft to face the sun. Fortunately, it's still receiving telemetry, and as soon as the solar panels rotate, I can do some science. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we are going to land on Minmus today, and not for exploration purposes, but for cash preservation, monetary purposes. Right, so this should give us some science. We are going to set up a fuel mining, refining and refueling station on Minmus. Now I explained yesterday a little bit about the why and the how of setting up a depot on Minmus. Basically the gravity well is very shallow, so it takes a low amount of delta V to land on it, to maneuver on it, to take off from it again, which means we can do a lot of operations regarding docking, transferring fuel, that sort of stuff in orbit, because it takes very little to actually get in orbit. I'm automatically going to the R&D station, but we have to go into the mission controller instead, and we're going to research vessel recycling. Great. And our next step is construction 1, that will straight up make the ship cheaper and efficient fuels, I think, as well. So our first science goals after this are going into the mission controller to, well, save us some money basically. Today we are going to land on Minmus, put a refueling station on there. Let me show you the craft. That will mine Kethane and refine it into liquid fuel and oxidizer, so that any subsequent mission will only have to get to Juna, where it can refuel, and then go on to its mission. This fuel will be free, we don't have to pay for it through the mission controller because we mined it on minmus, and it will also be very efficient because it will only have to be lifted out of the minmus gravity well, not out of the Kerbal gravity well, which makes all the difference. The craft we have here, this is actually the wrong craft. I loaded up the Juno rover, so let's go to the Space Center and load up the proper one. There you had a sneak peek at the Juno rover that is going to go to Juna in due time. That's always nice. Anyway, clear the launch pad and proceed. We are, of course, looking for miner 1. 41 parts. Wait, it needs a rocket stage as well. I didn't save that. So I'll be back as soon as I finish that. Bear with me. Right, so here we are in the vehicle assembly building, back with the rocket. It's a two-part rocket, well, two-part payload really. This is a small Kethane scanning satellite. Very basic, 2 small fuel tanks, a small engine, a lot of batteries, some radioisotope generators and some solar panels, and of course the power-hungry Kethane scanner. Hopefully enough to scan minmus, find some Kethane, where then this miner lander can land. 4 landing legs, 2 big tanks of fuel. First they will be used, of course, to fly there and land there, and then later they can be used to store the processed Kethane. A small Kethane tank in the middle and the converter here. Booster stage, a central rocket with 2 engines and 2 solid boosters with 2 liquid fuel tanks that will fuel the center stack. Quite ingenious if I do say so myself. The cost for all this is 84,000. That will wipe out our budget pretty cleanly. And so hopefully that will get a lot of views and get some money back. Otherwise we're going to have to do the Juna launch in the red, which would severely cut into our profits. But this will pay for itself forever more. So I think it's worth it. Of course all of that goes out of the window if the launch fails. Here we go, proceeding with that launch, and if it does not in fact fail, I will see you back in orbit during the minmus transfer, because you've seen this all 1,000 million times. Here we go. Well, here we are up in space, not quite in orbit yet. I'm a little bit worried that the ascent I did was far too suboptimal, or that the rocket just didn't have enough delta V. I don't know what's up, but the engine here is designed for minmus, and it is having quite a difficult time pushing all the mass that it's carrying into an orbital trajectory. We are already past our apoapsis, we are falling down again, and we need 900 more meters per second of delta V. I'm not sure if we will be able to make that in time. It will take us about 4 minutes to apply that, and in that time we will have fallen back to the surface already. So hopefully we can burn enough so that at least we won't fall back, that we can stay up a little bit longer, so that we can burn a little bit more and stay up a little bit longer and burn a little bit more and not fall back to the planet, because that would be quite a pity, especially because we have no way of landing. There is no parachutes, there is no thrusters large enough to do that, there is no way to land this. So there's no money recovered. Something else I forgot to do while modifying the rocket to launch today, I completely forgot to add parachutes to the booster that was just jettisoned. After making such a big deal out of getting the recycling tech and doing that, I completely forgot about it, and that means that we're not going to get any money for it, whilst we could have. Well, we're getting up a little bit of the speed required for an orbit. If we look at our trajectory now, we're still headed into the planet quite assuredly. I'm going to angle the craft up a little bit so that we might stay out of the atmosphere for just a little bit longer. And all we need is like 2 more minutes to apply all the speed. We are going to pass through the atmosphere, I'm quite sure of that, but hopefully we can do so at a high enough altitude that we are not in fact going to be committed to falling down into the planet again. We are moving quite fast. we need a few hundred meters per second of delta V up and over what we have now, and then we can avoid falling. I'm going to fast forward this for you because the outcome is all but assured, it's just that I don't know it yet. So enjoy a crash or a near miss. Well, this is annoying. This is not what we wanted to see. Our mission is a definite failure. We have failed to clear Kerbin. That's quite elementary, really. This is shameful. Shameful, shameful, shameful. Surprisingly, what I had not expected is that the craft withstood re-entry. I guess it just wasn't steep enough, or it wasn't fast enough. At any rate, nothing burned up. And I'm still going to attempt a landing that's as soft as possible using the engine, so that we might recover some money for all this hardware. We do have the recycling tank now, so here come the landing struts. Over water, not optimistic about that, but anyway, I'm going to fire the engine. With full tanks, the thrust to weight ratio of this thing was about half, so that wouldn't have been able to slow it down, but the tanks are almost completely empty, meaning that we should be able to touch down very gently and probably get some of the money back. And we had better, because otherwise we are dead broke. Well, we'll be dead broke anyway, but at least this way there might be something we can attempt to try to do. So this money is really being a problem in the space program because we don't have enough missions. So if you have any nice ideas for a mission, please write them up, send them to me, and I will do them 100 meters per second. Nothing remaining here, everything got destroyed, and that means we are completely broke. Back to the Space Center. It is a short mission today, and I'm going to think about how to fix this, and I came up with the following. Come on, come on, come on. Yes, I am going to make these fuel tanks also drain into the central stack, so that the strong twin engine boosters can also use some of this fuel. This does mean that at some point I'll have to shut down the engine, and that means that these fuel lines have to be rerouted. That at some point I'll have to shut down the engine and disable flow from these tanks, because obviously I don't want to completely drain them. But that should give the main engines a bit more kick to allow the small engine the time it needs to get us into orbit. This won't work. Go on, there it goes. Or if we attach to the strut now, that shouldn't work. That doesn't work either. This is all going horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. And apparently I can't do that. Anyway, thanks for watching me fail today. That was painful. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. We might have to go and get a loan somewhere, or we might have to accept the fact that we're going into debt. We have 34,000. The missions we can do, I think we're going to have to do this test drive mission. Or you could subscribe, and that will give me 1,000 credits. And if a few of you do so, then I should have enough money for this Juno lander, because I will tell you how much it costs. Let me have a look at that. The Juno rover costs... A Juno rover costs... What does it cost? Bam, 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 bam. The Juno rover costs 71,000. So I need 40,000 credits. So that means 20 subscriptions and 200 views. That should be attainable. Go on, subscribe, view it, share it with your friends. As soon as we have that or some other way to make money, we will launch the rover to Juna, and we will make so much cash that we can set up our minmus refueling depot without any trouble. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow when I've figured something out to do with this money situation. See you later.